What is going on, guys? Welcome to our Sunday night edition of our Showdown Breakdown here at Fantasy Sports Insight. This is Hold the Door DFS. We will be covering the Browns and the Giants. Again, I will give you three of my favorite cash plays, two of my favorite values, and my fade of the slate. If you are new to our channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button below and give this video a like, throw a comment. All that stuff is greatly appreciated. But let's get into the slate right away. If there is some things that you also would like to see that you have not seen either at our channel or from me on these videos, please let me know. We will be covering all of the playoff games and any primetime games coming up, and probably all the playoffs and all that. So be on the lookout for these showdown breakdowns for those, because I think there is still a massive edge to be had. So let's look at the odds first. Cleveland is a 6.5 point favorite, 44.5 over under. It's likely that Daniel Jones will be out and Colt McCoy will be in. So I think, once that's actually official, I think this line will even move a little bit more towards the Browns. That being said, the Giants haven't been that good with Matt or with Daniel Jones anyway. I would not expect a similar game script to the last time the Browns were on primetime last week against the Ravens, where they're down multiple scores in the second half and they're literally in hurry up offense from like the middle of the third quarter on, and Chubb hardly saw the field in the second half. So I think we see a completely different game script here, where the Browns get up, or it's just lower scoring and they're just able to run the ball. So I think you got to keep that in mind when you're building the slate. All right, let's go to the favored side first here. And there is some decent value. We do need to wait for some injury news, and it's not like amazing value, but there's definitely guys that are going to be on the field that are cheap enough to make other things work. So on the Cleveland side, Nick Chubb, even in a running back by committee approach, kind of, I guess, not really running the ball. You're going to see the carries are going to be there. He's going to catch a couple balls through the air. The guy just has great vision, can cut back, doesn't go down easy. You see those a lot of times, those 8 to 20-yard touchdown runs when they get in the red zone. So he is going to be my first lock of the slate, and probably my favorite cash play, and probably the most popular play on the slate. The only thing that might take some ownership off of him is that he's the most expensive player on the slate, but I think it's warranted. Baker Mayfield obviously has been phenomenal in the last two games. But again, if you see the game scripts in those games, look at the points being scored. If I knew that it's going to be like that this tonight, then I would lock him in 2 for 10-6. I still think he's a fine cash play, but I think there is a situation in which it's more like this Philadelphia or Jacksonville game where they rely heavily on the run, and you're not going to maybe see as much out of Baker. But in a pure floor plus upside standpoint, I think 10-6 is definitely doable for someone like Baker Mayfield. Then you have both the receivers, Landry and Higgins. Both are in play. I prefer Higgins just for the cheaper price tag. He's seeing the field just as much as Landry. If you're going to go that route, Kareem Hunt, 7,000 is super cheap. But again, don't be a game log watcher and overcompensate for what you see from last week. Now, does he still have this upside this week if the game gets a lot closer or they're losing late? Absolutely. He'll smash that $7,000 price tag. But as we've seen with Chubb back, more of these games that have been just closer or lower scoring tend to not favor him as much. So he is certainly in play at 7,000. If he's the last guy in and you're kind of in that range, totally fine with him. I'm not going to shove him in right away. I just want to see how the other pieces fit. I think the Browns defense is definitely in play here at 5,600, especially if Colt McCoy is starting. That is, increases the chances of turnovers. Defensive touchdown percentage goes up, fumbles, sacks, all those things. So I definitely think the Browns defense can easily get 8 to 10 points here at 5,600, which would be really nice. Peoples-Jones has been serving as the number 3 receiver. And I think, as long as nobody So Marvin Hall, we have to wait to see if they activate him. So if he gets activated, that could potentially take a little bit away from Peoples-Jones. They also have Hodge, who is super cheap. That was their number 3 receiver before he got hurt. And then Peoples-Jones has kind of taken over. So I think it is a little bit of a wait and see here with injury news. If all the guys that have been out just aren't playing, then Peoples-Jones is great at 4,600. If Hall is active and Hodge is active, then I'm a little bit more cautious on someone like Peoples-Jones in a game script where Cleveland likely should be running the ball a lot, and they will run the ball a lot. It's not like the Bills last night where they get a lead, they're still chucking. That's just totally different offenses. So Hooper listed as questionable. I think they expect him to play. Has he been that great? No, but he's 4,200. So you can definitely, he's normally in the mid 5s. I think like if Hooper is active and Njoku is inactive, that, increases Hooper and then also increases Bryant. Njoku had a good game last game. He was probably the value of the slate, super cheap, but he did drop, a pretty key touchdown in that game. So Hodge right here is who I was talking about at 600. In the 2 games that he served as the wide receiver 3, he had 3 catches in both games, which obviously he would smash this $600 price tag. And then Marvin Hall, somebody that they acquired from the Lions that just hasn't played for them yet because he was on the COVID list, and he was activated off of that last week, but then was still listed as inactive for the game. So again, these 2 are potentially really good values. I think you just run into the case of potentially game script not favoring them. So you just need them to get it done in their limited opportunities. Cody Parkey, kickers, always viable here as well. All right, let's go to the Giants side. As I said, Daniel Jones is 10,200, expected to be out, which would, at 8,600, you kind of got to consider McCoy here as a cash play. It's not, he's a veteran. He's played, he's viable. He can throw a touchdown. He can scramble a little bit. Is it the greatest matchup? No. For someone like him just to come off and do that. But I think you have to consider him as a starting quarterback at 8,600. Wayne Gallman has been, their kind of workhorse. I think you can definitely consider him at 8,800 as well. And, there's a slate where I got burned by this, like with RG3 starting against the Steelers. Obviously, the Steelers have one of the best defenses in the league. And I got a little bit too caught up on he's only 8,000. He's a quarterback. Let's play him. This feels a little bit different. Cleveland's defense is not as good. McCoy is just he's not going to rely only on his legs. And that's what RG3 was. His throwing was awful. Their offense was already set up to fail for him already, even though he could run a little bit, but yeah, he's not Lamar Jackson. So I do like McCoy here at 8,600. Shepard is in play, especially really cheap. Same with Slayton. Evan Ingram is someone to watch, but he's expected to play. He feels a little bit underpriced. And sometimes when you get these backup quarterbacks in, you think they tend to go to tight ends and running backs more often. I think that might be more of just a bias or not something that's really factual. But Giants defense will be a pass for me. Graham Gano is in play as a kicker. But then we also have all these super cheap options down here. Golden Tate, 2,400. Last week wasn't good, but, before that, 4 catches, 2 catches, he's 2,400. He doesn't really need a lot. He could catch a touchdown. Dion Lewis is 1,600. He's not going to do a lot, but if he catches a ball or, I think he had a running touchdown last game, he's going to be in there somewhat, especially in passing downs. Alfred Morris, 1,000 in play. Caden Smith, I think if he plays, and Ingram is expected to play too, I guess. So, he's not as viable. If Ingram would have somehow sat and he would have played, that would have been the lock of the slate for me. Other than that, you're dealing with a lot of he's not even active or not playing. But so let's recap the slate here. Chubb, Mayfield, probably, and then McCoy for me, likely, or Gallman. If you want to fade Mayfield and try to play a couple of the receiving options to kind of cover those bases, that's viable. I'm likely fading. I don't know. I'm likely fading Landry because I prefer just to go down to Higgins, and then likely fading, Hooper, Peoples Jones, kind of that range, just because I don't think the game script favors them. And then my favorite values of the slate are going to be Parkey and probably Golden Tate. So, and then you can, if Hodge or Hall are active and news says they're going to have a decent role, I mean, Hodge at 600, if he goes back to wide receiver 3, you lock him in right away. Do we know that he's automatically going to be wide receiver 3 over Peoples Jones? No, we don't. But I think at 600, you're not taking that big of a risk considering his price tag. So, all right. Hope you guys were able to check this out. Hit the like button. Be on the lookout for more content for tomorrow night. And then I think we have a bunch of primetime games next week as well. All right. Thanks a lot for listening. See ya.